Welcome to your dream job and dream company. You're finally here. And just when you thought everything was figured out as you walk into your new job, open up your new email, you might realize, wait, some of this looks different than I thought. But don't panic. Surprise, surprise. Actually, most jobs are like it. A lot of it requires a lot more work, care, and dedication. But that's okay. The key is how you notice how to thrive and realize that, wait, there are a lot of human skills we got to learn on the job. That's the very thing my two friends who are joining our show today will share as they shed light into the two industries that many of us want to work in, but many might not realize how to thrive or enter: software engineering and PR. Today, I'm thrilled to have two friends who's going to share a little bit more what it's like. First, meet Mensur. He is a senior software engineer at Stadion and a part-time professor teaching programming in Split, Croatia. He is passionate about breaking down barriers and misconceptions of technology and programming, and likes to write and speak about the field for more to learn about it. In fact, the first time I came across his work was because of his blog, a particular blog that was written in October 2023 that was titled 10 Hard to Swallow Truths That Won't Tell You About Software Engineering Jobs. My husband's a software engineer, and he shared with me to help me understand about why work-life balance as an engineer is a little different than somebody like me who's doing leadership coaching, perhaps. And it sure did. It made me understand that engineering, even though it's a job that we hear all the time, requires a different skill set and a different work routine. It helped me understand the holistic opportunities and challenges one might need to face to thrive and be a leader in software engineering. And it's the very reason why Mensur wanted to write about it, even though he loved and thrived and already did well in his job. He wondered, how can I help others understand better about what software engineering actually means and serve back to the community? So, let's dive in. So, welcome to this show, Mensur. I'm very excited to have you. As I mentioned when I first reached out, I found you because of the blog that you wrote. How in the world did you get passionate about wanting to build a career in software engineering?
Hi, so happy to be here. Thank you for the invitation. For the software engineering, I have to say I got into software engineering by accident or not because my main wish was fulfilled, because in middle school, believe it or not, I was in a medical school. So I wanted to be a doctor, but things didn't turn so well for me. I'm now thankful for that, because if I remember correctly, the quote for the medical college was, I think they accepted maybe 23 or 25 people. And I was like maybe 28 or something like that. So I wasn't accepted there. And my second choice was IT. Basically, I just went there. And now I'm thankful for that, because the IT industry bloomed over like last 10 or so years. So it's definitely a good branch or field to do your work. And I'm really happy with my job, with my work and the field that I'm currently working on. So I can help a lot of people, impact a lot of lives and stuff like that. So it's very challenging, but also like rewarding.
That's incredible. I mean, especially with the humble beginning that you didn't know if that was even the field you wanted to get into. Do you remember your first job in software engineering, and what was it and how was that?
Oh, yes, definitely. So my first job, let's say, when I was a little, I lived in Bosnia. So this is neighbor country to Croatia. And there I was interested in computers. I was like, I may be the only person in the village so that I could reinstall the Windows and stuff like that, fix the computers. So I got to computers very early. But my first job, believe it or not, I actually started coding first year of my college.
Wow.
People start a lot of earlier, but
Yeah.
it's never too late. In this field, you can learn if you are like, I don't know, 60, 70, 80 years old. I even read about the grandma from Japan. She developed a fully iOS application at 80 years old, so it's never too late. Yeah.
That's incredible.
My first job was my final year of college. I got an invitation of a local IT company here in Split. I accepted that. And as you know, Croatia is a very tourist-focused country. So everything here revolves around tourism. We live from tourism, basically, especially here in my region, like Dalmatia region, Split. And this company that I worked on is called Hotels Touch. We develop smart solutions for the hotels, like booking management systems, like digital signage, so you can manage your multimedia systems and stuff like that. There are also a lot of cool projects. So I was there for 3 years. It was very hard at the beginning, very stressful, very different from the things that you learn in college. So everything you learn there is the greenfield projects, the new projects. But when you came to this job, the real job with real tasks and real challenges, it's very, very different. So the first year was very stressful, but after that first year, you get used to that. You learn how to fight with timelines, with the different bugs, the problems, and stuff like that. So it's easier after the first year. So that was my first job, and it was really cool. I'm still friends with those people, and they are great guys. So very thankful for that. Yeah.
That's amazing. And I want to piggyback on what you were hinting at the very end, which is actually very much to kind of the manifestation of many of the blogs that you continue to write, which is debunking what people think about engineering, both the joy and the challenges. Tell me a little bit more, like, why write about it? What motivated you to want to start your blog and share with the world about what it means to make sense of what it means to build a career in software engineering?
Yeah. In my family, my father is also a writer. He published 7 books or so. I found his books a little bit boring, but yeah, you can say that. I was okay at writing, but here in Split, we have a local community that is called Split Tech City. And this is like a community of companies, meetups, organizations, individuals, all combined into this one community. And I started writing for them as a volunteer writer. So after some time, I stopped and I had to do like one big project. But after that, I was thinking, okay, maybe I could get back to writing. I decided, okay, I want to have my own blog because I want the freedom to just write about anything that I want. So whatever comes to my mind, I can write whatever I want. So basically, I started. And it was fine. It's just like, some fun thing for me to do. I write mostly about things that I hear from my friends. I have a lot of friends that are younger than me. So a lot of colleagues, a lot of junior developers, students, and stuff like that. Usually people like to hear about the problems that are common or they are facing at work, or they have some technical difficulties around that. So if you write about that, people will actually read that. So not that I think it's important for you, but when you are like older, I'm currently in the IT industry for maybe 8 years. So it kind of goes with the seniority. So for me, it's expected from a senior developer to share the knowledge, to mentor the younger colleagues. I noticed that in the last maybe year or two, there are a lot of senior developers, but not every senior developer writes about their experiences, their advices, what they encountered with the clients, the problems and stuff like that. So I think it's very beneficial for each developer to share what they are working, what they are solving at their job, and share this with the whole world. This skill got lost within like maybe last 3 or 4 years, because before that, I think I could find more of these blogs. There are couple of folks that I follow on LinkedIn that are writing technically and stuff like that. But I would say there are also a lot of people to do these blogs just to like earn the money or something, bombard you with the subscriptions and stuff like that. On my blog, I don't have any like ads or subscriptions. The content is the same for the people who are subscribed. I don't have like any tiers. You don't have to pay money. I just want to write and share my experiences or technical advices with the world. And basically, that was my main motivation. The second thing is that you actually get a lot of benefits for you, like your personal brand and stuff like that. So that's also very good. That's my beginning, how I started. So I don't write for a lot of time. I write for maybe 1 or 2 years. I write a new article every 2 weeks. So that's my schedule. And I could write maybe more, but I have also other things to do. So yeah.
That's incredible. I mean, I think your heart and intention really reflects through the blog. I appreciate whether it was your LinkedIn or on your blog, you do make that statement. For those who do get a chance to now read his blog for the first time, you'll see he deliberately says, this is not a sponsor ad. I'm not also interested. I just want to write something from heart. And as a result, I think that permitted you to share all these different things. Speaking of which, could you highlight briefly, what are perhaps some of the most common misconceptions people do have about engineering, as that is a job many people want to potentially work in, but don't understand?
I think I wrote an article about that. You probably saw the article online. It was, I think, #1 post on Reddit programming, subreddit r/programming. It was, I think, on Hacker News as well. So I wrote about 10 things that are hard to swallow about the software engineering job. It really was very popular within like short amount of time because people think in the IT industry everything is smooth, sun always shines, and you just type, you code, and everything works.
Paid well.
You're happy. Yeah. You earn a lot of money, and it's like that in sometimes, but there are also a lot of negative things. I wrote mainly about those negative things that are just by the default with this job. You need to adapt to those if you want to be successful. For example, the shocking thing for me, at least, was when I came from college to my first job, how unprepared I was for my job, because everything that I learned on the college was maybe like 30% of my day-to-day work, because I can learn technical things. That's not the problem. I can learn code syntax and stuff like that. But other things like communications, teamwork, work ethic, a willingness to learn, my approachability from other colleagues so they can ask me for help, my soft skills, let's say. So those are the things that you cannot learn in the college. You can learn other things, but these you just need to like polish on yourself through the experience. Also, I'm not sure how it's in the US, but here in Croatia, the colleges are maybe not so up to date with the current industry standards. So they have programs that are maybe 10 years behind. And when you come to job, there you have a situation similar that situation I described in my article. You basically learn to swim in the college and someone just explains it to you like the words and stuff. And then you come to the actual job and you have to swim, but you never actually swim. So it is something like that. There are also other things. For example, people think that you just like write the code and that's it. But the truth is, a very small portion of people at your company care about your clean code. Developers are all so proud of the code that they write and stuff like that. But the main reason you are hired in this industry is to just bring value to the company. Nobody cares about your clean code. If you wrote the function this way or that way, if it works, fine. If it's clean, like it will be expected from you to write a clean code and stuff like that. But you cannot just waste 3 days to just write clean code. You just need to make things work.
In clean code, could you clarify what that means for our non-engineers?
Yeah, clean code. Clean code is like, I don't know, when you write some sentence, let's say so in a normal language, you want to send an email. And then you write everything down, blah, 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 blah. And you will not, of course, send the email instantly. You will glance over that. You will do correction. You will be cleaning, reformatting, and stuff like that. So that sentence is good to go and grammatically correct. So similar thing is with the code. You need to write optimized, clean, nicely formatted, optimal code that will work.
So that's called clean code, but having done that work. I see. Thank you for sharing that. It dawns me on another question. I'm curious if you have thoughts on this, which is similar to engineering. I feel like there's lots of other jobs. It looks shinier. It looks greener on the other side, basically. It looks like, that person doesn't know how painful and like how much extra work I have to do in my job. But actually, if we look at maybe that job or that industry too, there's a lot of extra work that they have to go through, or like different challenges. And so I'm curious what your thought is about general, just how we understand about careers and jobs, not just engineering, but other industries as well. Are we perhaps maybe over-informed about different jobs, but misguided, as you have pointed out? And I'm curious on your kind of overarching thoughts on it.
Yes, definitely. I think a lot of these misconceptions and confusion comes to the, I'd say, some marketing part of the companies. So everyone wants to know that their company is fancy, has a fancy office, or the PlayStation 5, or the table tennis in the office, or I don't know, free lunch, and how awesome are Google's offices and stuff like that. But people, when they see these things, they think, wow, this is great, this is perfect, I want to work there. I admit there are a lot of benefits from the work in the IT industry. For example, I don't have to set my alarm up. I can wake up whenever I want. I can work whenever I want. I can do I can start an hour or two late or earlier. I can, go on a longer pause. But someone who is working on other industry or other field of work, they cannot do that. But besides that, I think the IT industry also has this dark side, which is like they don't tell you about things that, for example, sometimes you will work also with incompetent people. You cannot just say, okay, man, you are so incompetent, you are so dumb, You need to be professional. You need to handle all these challenges and obstacles with dignity and treat people professionally. Also, I also mentioned that you will spend a lot of time in the meetings. For example, people think okay, you're an engineer, you will just write the code. No, you will not, because you will spend a lot of time having conversations with people, how you will approach certain things, how you will implement something, you will communicate with your team, with your manager, with your colleague, you will help other people on your team. So it will take a lot of times. And there are also other things, people think, okay, someone will give you the assignment, you will just code it, but sometimes they will ask for the estimates and you don't know how long it will take to implement that.
Yes.
For example, I don't know, if I pick up a hammer and smash on your fridge and I say, okay, here is something wrong in the fridge, give me an estimate how long it will take to fix this. You don't know what is wrong, you don't know what's going on there. So there are a lot of these things that are not mentioned in the media and people don't see that.
To your comment about meeting, I'm immediately going to, do you create also the animations and the graphics in your blog?
No, I use
you have a
blog.
partner?
I use this Ghost platform.
I see. Okay.
They have integrated
because those animations are incredibly accurate and well relatable. Yeah. I'm thinking about especially going to your meeting. I've seen the animation of the meeting example where the little person's very happy coding, and then suddenly they're stuck in meetings and they're like unhappy, and then blah 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 blah, and then by the time they finish, it's like evening. It's like I didn't do any coding today. I was sitting in meetings, couldn't do anything.
Yeah, those are taken from the monkeyyuser.com. Awesome stuff there. Yeah.
Well, credits, shout out to them as well. We'll make sure folks get a chance to look at them and we'll give proper attribution. But it brings to a really key conversation you're raising, which is how do we make sure not just maybe the future generation, but actually all of us do a better job understanding about what it means to have a happy, thriving career. How do we debunk that? How do we proactively seek for those in the industry? How do we not make it too picture perfect? Actually, it's better to clarify and upfront inform about it, as you have said. And so I'm curious on that note, what advice you have to share for future generations, or maybe even those in transitions who are wanting to enter software engineering. What skills do you think are going to be even more important other than the traditional technical stuff? You've listed
Yes.
many. What's going to be even more important now for the future if they want to be a software engineer?
I would say for the software engineering, there are some must-haves. You need to have technical skills. You cannot work without technical skills. I see a lot of young people make mistakes. For example, they are all over the place. They want to learn JavaScript. They want to learn C#. They want to learn, I don't know, Ruby on Rails and stuff like that. But it's not good. Just pick one thing, master that one thing, get good at that, and then expand on that. And that's the first thing. The second thing is you need to get good at these soft skills. People do not believe, but actually, technical skills are something that are considered to be just like by the default, you have them. But soft skills are those who will decide if you get promotion, if you will get a raise, if people will actually like you. If you are not good with those skills, I met a lot of people that cannot just work in teams. They argue a lot. They do not want to listen to colleagues, or they have hard time on the code reviews and stuff like that. So the advice that I want to give to young people that are just want to enter into the software engineering is, if you have a friend or anyone that you know that's already working in this field, ask them about the experience. That's the best way that you can get information from the first hand. If you follow some folks on the LinkedIn, there are also good bloggers that you can also read about their experience, and they say a lot of useful things for this domain. So I think those would be the best way to learn about those things, not something on the internet or the company website where you go and you see all these things that are shiny and they just want to try to sell themselves as a good companies. They can be a good company, but it is definitely a different perspective from the company and from the worker. Make sure you ask the person, not the website. Yeah.
That's a very good point. Talk to the person, especially in this generated AI world. Very important to make sure you're speaking to somebody and getting the nuances. Mensur, thank you so much. We covered so many different grounds. Any final words of wisdom you want to share to our innovators who are listening in on any general advice in different careers and jobs they're navigating?
Nothing special. I would say just be yourself, be the best version of yourself, and try to help as much people as you can. So that's the generally best advice. Do not compare to others. Do your own thing. And that's basically it.
I love that. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to share your wisdom and insight. Folks, we'll be back again with another story, and we will see you soon. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye.
As Mensur points out, start with being curious and open-minded. Makes a difference. And it's probably something that you'll notice my second guest will highlight too. Christina Lu. She is the Senior Vice President of Strategy at Croatia, a Dentsu agency in New York. At Croatia, Christina leverages critical and creative thinking across data insights, cultural and societal shifts, media trends and business dynamics, and technology innovations to inform strategy. That's a lot, right? She has led marketing and strategy on brands, including Adobe, Coca-Cola, Goldman Sachs, Google, LinkedIn, Target, and UNICEF. So she definitely knows how to speak and relate to the different industry trends and insights. She has also spoken as a speaker at industry events, including Marketing Science Institution, and guest lectured at Columbia Business School, Cornell University, and New York University. She also serves as a board member and strategic advisor where she often mentors Asians in advertising. Christina's definitely rethinking how we thrive and grow in the PR industry. So let's dive in what it's like in her day-to-day life. So I am very excited to have my friend Christina here to speak a little bit more about how in the world she got into where she is. So Christina, tell me a little bit more. What does it mean to work at PR and in an agency?
Yeah, thank you so much for having me here, Monica. I'm super excited and happy to share. It's actually really funny. I wasn't one of those people who set out in high school or college saying, I want to get into strategy. I want to work at an agency. But I stumbled into it a little bit. And it was actually the perfect storm of my passions, my experiences that brought me to where I am. And what I mean by that is I am curious by nature. I majored in philosophy. I love people and cultures and digging into psychology. I worked across various different industries and categories, whether that be technology, food and wine, nonprofit, as well as pharma. And what strategists really do is they lean into what are the category, cultural, consumer, as well as brand insights, and formulate a way for the brand or company to be able to actually reach their consumers in not only a differentiated, but very relevant way.
Thank you so much for sharing that. I feel like there's so much probably to learn into it. So diving right back in, tell me your first job and what was it like? What skill did you need to excel in that job?
Yes. So I have a bit of an untraditional path into strategy, and my very first job was actually in sales. I wouldn't take it back, even though it sounds a little bit unglamorous. It was a lot of hard skills that brought me to where I am today. I learned how to be able to communicate appropriately. I learned, most importantly, the specific attitude, I think, that got me to where I am today. And that is, don't let other people say no for you. Meaning a lot of times people just automatically discount themselves and say, well, I don't know if I should even ask because what if they say no? But the correct attitude that I actually learned during that first job is, but what if they say yes? And so that has brought me so many opportunities by asking someone, hey, do you mind to have a meeting? What do you think about this? Do you think that we can talk about XYZ topic? And you'd be surprised how many times people do say yes. So I think some of the most important skills that you can learn is being able to just ask and not being afraid of no.
That's so important. I'm sure also as you continue to now build your expertise and grow into the industry that you're in right now, you've also noticed a lot of misconceptions and misunderstanding people have of the field. Tell me a little bit more, what are some of the most common misconceptions people have and why they exist?
Sure. So I think that media has a big role in playing what stereotypes could be like for certain jobs, right? So when people say, oh, you work in advertising and media, is that like Mad Men? Partially yes, but also partially no. So the misconceptions are that it's just a lot of big room brainstorming, a lot of action, but behind the scenes, there's so much more that's going on. I think that also a misconception is being first generation here, my parents, when I tell them, hey, I work in marketing and advertising, specifically within media strategy, they say, so you make commercials, which is not even close to what I do. But I'm like, yeah, sure, that's sort of ish it. So I think what people should really learn about the industry is that it is so big and wide, and there's multiple different verticals and areas that you can work in, whether that be on the agency side, servicing clients, on the actual brand side. Even now, like within media, there's the publisher side too. So there's multiple different roles in which you can have, whether that be strategy or account planning or business management. And it's really, the world is your oyster. So I would say have a lot of informational conversations to be able to sort of figure out what exactly you would want to do within the advertising and marketing industry.
I really love your point and that reminder that it is so diverse. And so tell us a little bit more how your experiences and skills helped you get clarity which direction you wanted to hone?
So I think that some of the skills that I was able to find really valuable in this industry is flexibility. Not only are things changing at such a rapid pace within culture, but also within our industry. And so being able to adapt quickly to whether it be a new updated timeline because maybe budgets are getting cut, or a new direction because there's someone else who had a different idea, or being able to appropriately work within your collaborative teams is highly important. And that flexibility skill is really key no matter where you go and very transferable. And another thing that I think that is really important is the ability to be able to cut through a lot of the noise and find that simple, clear way of not only communicating, but maybe distilling certain insights so that you can make whatever you're saying to the client or your team very understandable.
So many skills that I feel like I'm hearing from you that is so important. Bring us back down to your kind of past when you think about how you built your career and experience to be here. What are some perhaps surprising lessons or surprising skills that you have gained that you realized, wait, I didn't realize this experience or this event or this person would help make a difference, but it did later on?
That's a really good question. So what I didn't realize, I think, coming up through all of this was when I graduated, I worked a variety of different roles, right? So I worked in sales. I went to China and I was a language instructor for a year. I worked at a startup and this was fully remote. So I actually traveled around Central and South America for about 6 months before this whole working remote thing was a trend. And I worked on the client side, I've worked on the agency side. And throughout the whole experience, transparently, I felt, oh, I'm trying all these different things. I'm building all these different skills. Meanwhile, I saw a lot of my colleagues, they picked a specific line of work and they climbed the ladder through specializing in something. And what I've realized is that now there's actually an article that came out on The Drum recently saying that generalists are actually more in demand than specialists, especially coming into 2024. And for the first time, I found that, oh, this is really interesting and cool, because for the longest time, people have wanted specialists, given the economy, given the ability of what I was saying before and about how flexibility is so important. The ability for someone to be a generalist and dangerous enough in most of the different topics, but have a few key superpowers, I found is actually something really surprising. So even though this whole time I'm not a specialist, if you would say, in a certain area, I think that being able to build a variety of different skills, learning a lot as you go, shouldn't be discounted.
Thank you. That's really powerful and insightful. You're also working in New York. I feel like that in itself brings a different culture. Tell me a little bit more about the New York culture, especially when it comes to media and advertising, because I feel it's even more of a hustle than I think in other places.
Oh my gosh, definitely. Yes. So I definitely started off in New York. I'm currently based in Pennsylvania, but my company is based in New York, where I often go most of the time. I'm a fully remote hire, but the New York hustle and bustle is definitely in kind of like this in your face. There's a certain energy to the advertising and marketing field in New York, which is where a lot of the jobs are concentrated at. So you always have some kind of interesting like event or get together, or nowadays a lot of virtual ways to be able to connect and share and learn from everybody within the industry.
So that relationship and networking is so key. I know as you were sharing this, you've hinted this earlier. It's so important to be able to give back and recognize how a lot of these places, there's still not enough diversity and representation. And you've hinted that at the very beginning too. Tell me a little bit more. I know you're very big on mentoring and advocating for AAPI representation. Why is that important for you? And what are you doing to help change that narrative?
I love this question. This actually goes back to almost about a year ago when I was coming back from maternity leave, and I wanted to take some time to reevaluate, where I wanted to put some time and helping furthering something that was meaningful to me. At the time, I was president of my alumni chapter. I was also volunteering for this organization called Streetwise Partners, but I came across Asians in Advertising. And Asians in Advertising is a nonprofit organization that helps really elevate AAPI voices and build community and help further and mentor other AAPI people who are navigating corporate America or just trying to build their careers. And it immediately spoke to me because, similar to a lot of other people being first generation Chinese American here, my parents started their own business, but had zero understanding of how maybe corporate America really works, the important things in order to be able to build your career, how to network, how to interview, and just navigating all of that. So I think it's really important to be able to pay that forward, having learned a lot from all the different informational interviews I've done, going on all the different interviews I have, and having all the different kind of jobs I've had, being able to kind of pass that on and give others maybe the opportunity that I haven't had is really meaningful to me. And so that's why I hope to, as one of the board members of Asians in Advertising, continue to help move the needle in giving others this opportunity, building community, and creating a sense of belonging for everyone.
And part of me, as I listen to all this, I'm wondering, Christina, how is she managing her time and energy? How do you manage your time and energy? How do you make sure you don't burn out?
This is a really important question. I'm a new mom. I have a full-time job. I'm also a board member of a couple of organizations. And I think it's really key to be able to be very thoughtful and intentional about how you're dividing your time and knowing what is important to you. All of these things are really important to me. And so I actually feel full when I am being fully engaged with my baby and being fully engaged in Asians in Advertising, making that really awesome presentation when I'm at my job. And so one of the ways that I avoid being burnt out is being very intentional with what I choose to spend my time with, because at the end of the day, all of these things are meaningful to me. And so that's why I can avoid some of that burnt outness, because I'm not overcommitting to the things that are totally possible, but being very intentional about where I'm committing my time.
I know also AI and machine learning has been a hot topic in all industries. Of course, in media marketing and advertising, a lot is changing as well. How has AI influenced how you work and show up? Maybe even save you time and effort, as you've said, in making sure you show up intentionally in the spaces you want to.
Yes. AI is everywhere. It's the new buzzword. If you can say a sentence without AI, I don't know if you're in all of the right conversations. But anyway, AI is definitely changing not only my current job, but also within the marketing and media landscape. I definitely leverage some AI tools to help at least start off what I need to do. A great example of this could be ChatGPT or Bard, right? A part of my job is being able to look into the different category and cultural and consumer insights and be able to distill what are some key themes, what are the key insights. And some of these AI tools are really great for being able to brainstorm and use as a sounding board. Other times, it's also really great to, whether it be, helping me write certain lines or helping me create a SWOT analysis where I'm understanding the different strengths, opportunities, weaknesses, and threats. AI is definitely a great tool to help me get started and do and automate a lot of work. But at the end of the day, you still need that human lens to look at all the different things that are being outputted, sometimes double check what they're putting forth because it's not always correct, and be able to say, oh, actually, this is a great starting point, but let me bring in the other things that I know to be able to bring it that much further and elevate it.
I love it, that human lens of importance. I feel like every time I get a chance to ask this question, I'm being reminded that, hey, don't forget, being human is part of the things that AI cannot do. So how do you bring that out more? So speaking of which, we probably have listeners here who are either curious to enter this field, inspired by, a story, or maybe exploring pivots, want to better understand. For anyone, wherever they are, particularly in the field for your marketing and advertising, if they want to enter, what skills would you recommend they have to build even more, maybe even more so in the future because of the changing work landscape with AI, remote, and everything? And what would you recommend?
Sure. I think since your question is specifically targeted towards people who are trying to get into the field, I would say there's two things that I could recommend. And the first skill would be to go online and look at all the amazing pieces of knowledge, classes, things that are out there. If there's a specific topic that interests you, take a class on it. There's all of these free classes, but then you can also pay for a certain class and get maybe a certification. Make sure that you can almost future-proof your career so that because you're building all of these skill sets, you don't get discounted because you don't know a certain skill. So learn. The second thing I think that is a little bit more not a hard skill, but more of a soft skill is that flexibility I was leading to earlier on. Just given the economy and how fast our industry is changing and evolving, it's so important to be adaptable, to be nimble, and to have that ability to have a certain idea of how to reach your certain goals, but have the flexibility and adaptability to change and still get there, but maybe it's not the original way you thought you were going to go.
And piggybacking on your comment, so when you say learn, is it learning any topic that you're mentioning that they just have to be in the learning mode? Is that what you're saying that's important for advertising?
Yeah, I think diving a little bit deeper, right? For example, within my specific line of work, like strategy, there's a lot of specific classes that you can take maybe within strategy or creative brief writing or whatever that might be. But if you wanted to go into advertising and there's like a whole consumer insights division, maybe it's about learning specific data analyst skills, understanding certain tools, or maybe mastering Excel. So depending on the specific line you might want to go into, there's specific skills that which you could either learn more about and get certified in. For example, I took a class from UPenn, and there I got a certification on brand strategy. This was an online course offered through Coursera, and this was during the COVID shutdown of 2020 where everybody was shut down for a while. And I said, I could probably use this downtime and learn a little bit more about brand strategy and portfolio and product management. So why don't I spend some time and get a certification in this specific area topic?
So I'm hearing that it's really important to be able to really just that learning mindset. First, identify what you know you're passionate and interested about. But if you're not sure, it's okay. Don't overthink about it. Just start with where you can. Thank you for sharing that, Christina. We've already gone through so many different insights. Really grateful that you are here. As we wrap up, a few rapid questions. One, any final advice you'll share to our innovators out there, no matter where they are in their journey, how they can continue to innovate and thrive?
Yes. I think the number one thing I would say is to leverage your network. And what I mean by that is build on the relationships that you have. They are in places where you might not even expect. Lean into your alumni network. Have friends introduce you. Monica and I actually met through some kind of really funny serendipitous moment where now we are connected to each other, and it's really, really amazing. So don't ever stop building relationships. And I think that you'll be very surprised where that can lead to.
And the second question is actually because of the work that you do in marketing and advertising, what's the best way to keep tap of global affairs and global business trends, whatever industry you're in, but without getting burned out? Because I think that's a big challenge. How do you make sense of everything? So much has changed, whether it's how we do marketing, how we do advertising, but also what's going on in the world. And so I'm curious, if you have tips and tricks for how you make sense of it, but also in a digestible way to not get burned out.
In an era of information overload, it can be very overwhelming on top of the ever-evolving landscape that everything is always changing, but that everything can be found somewhere. I would say find a few really great either sources of information or newsletters that you can subscribe to. That way it curates a way very easily for you to read what is actually happening and for you to stay abreast of specific categories or topic areas. I like to be able to do this where I sign up for a couple of newsletters, but then also within my organization, our head of innovation formed this organization called the CIA. It stands for Karas Innovation Association, where we meet on a pretty regular basis to discuss all the different kind of trends that are happening. There's a weekly newsletter that comes out from this specific organization where it helps curate what are the evolving topics, whether it be in innovation or tech or just the general market culture, to kind of stay abreast on these key topics that are happening. So I would say, sign up for certain newsletters that you think would be helpful to you, and then try to join organizations that specifically want to stay abreast of all of these topics so that you can be part of the conversation.
Thank you so much. And final word is, what's the best way people can stay in touch with you?
Find me on LinkedIn. I'm happy to connect.
Awesome. Well, this is Christina. This was Monica, your host. Thank you so much, Christina, for joining us. Really appreciate the conversation. Folks, will tune in. We'll have another conversation next week, and we'll see you soon. Thank you.
Thank you.
As Christina points out, it might not always be that clear, but you have to put in the work. Be curious. I think we're seeing that consistently, right? And stay open. Especially in a place like PR and software engineering, you just never know where you get the inspiration. And as we're getting more clarity and excitement into the roles that we are, you're probably now noticing another thing: diversity. That's right. How can we bring more diverse voices into the works and industries that we work in, and perhaps also hire those right people? So in our next episode, we're going to get a chance to ask some leaders who are working on that effort how to bring diverse leaders into the different industries, but also encourage employees to consider different types of jobs that they might not have thought of, and how to upskill their position, and how to upskill themselves. So, we'll see you next week. This is Monica Kang at Dear Workplace by Innovators Box. See you soon. Thanks again for joining us. This is your host, Monica Kang at Dear Workplace, and I'm so glad you are here. This show is possible thanks to our amazing podcast team who has worked with me at Innovators Box Studios. Shout out to audio engineering and producing by
Sam Lamer.
Audio engineering assistant by
Ravi Ladd.
Website and marketing support by
Cree Pandey.
Graphic support by
Leah Orsini.
Christine Eribal.
and original music by Innovators Box Studios. And writing, interviewing, podcasting, directing, and all that jazz by me, Monica Kang. Share us your feedback and suggestions as we continue to look to improve and answer the questions that you have about the workplace. Have a great day, and I'll see you soon.